My mother can no longer walk. She needs help. I thought maybe. I started to explain to my mother-in-law, my voice trembling. I don't care, she cut me off coldly. You're the wife in this family. Your job is to take care of this household. Let your family handle their own problems. Her words cut me deeply, and I turned to my husband for support. I couldn't care less about your parents, he snapped, glaring at me with anger. And I won't say anything to my mom either. Don't you dare bring this up again. Just shut up and focus on your responsibilities, Warren added, his voice filled with fury. Their words struck me to the core, but neither of them suspected that their dark secrets would soon destroy the life they considered their own. My name is Everly. I'm a housewife, married for 25 years, living with my husband Warren and my in-laws. I have one grown son who has left home and now lives alone. A few years ago, my father-in-law fell ill and is now in need of nursing care. I am always busy taking care of him. My mother-in-law is in good health, and I want to help her take care of him, but she leaves everything to me and does nothing. My husband also throws everything onto me even though he lives with us. My mother-in-law and my husband are unthinkable to me, as they disregard their own husband and father and act selfishly. Everly, I told you to do the laundry yesterday, didn't I? Why didn't you wash these clothes? I was going to wear it today, my mother-in-law scolded. Sorry, I was busy yesterday. Can't you substitute it for something different? I said, trying to keep calm. I can't believe you can say you're busy when you just sit at home, she retorted. To my mother-in-law, it seems that doing all the housework and taking care of my father-in-law equates to just sitting at home. Yesterday, your husband seemed to be feeling well. Are you really going to the play? I asked her. Of course I am, she replied. A friend of mine invited me to take a break from caring for my husband. Of course I have to go. Besides, he got sick because you didn't take care of him properly. So take better care of him, she instructed. Taking a break from caring? Even though you haven't been taking care of him at all? I thought, trying to hold back my frustration. Besides, it's my mother-in-law's fault that my father-in-law got sick the other day. On a whim, she decided to make him look better by airing out his room. She completely forgot she had left the window open and went out for the day. By the time she returned, the room had been freezing, and my father-in-law was chilled to the bone. After listening to her reproaches, I had to agree. I see. Then can you please help me take care of him when you get back? I asked. Of course not, she snapped. Caring for him is your job. I'm off now. Good luck with all that. With that, my mother-in-law left the house. My mother-in-law constantly finds a reason to go out several times a week. Meanwhile, my husband works long hours on weekdays and is rarely home on weekends or holidays because of his job. When he does have time to be at home, he usually just relaxes and doesn't engage much in anything else. Warren, I need to give your father a bath. Can you help me with that? I asked my husband. I'm tired from work. Let me rest on my day off, he responded dismissively. I'm doing everything I can to take care of your father and the housework, I retorted. You just stay at home. I go to work every day. Who do you think you owe your life to? My husband snapped. Then can you ask your mom to help me a little? She's always out. She never helps me, I pleaded. What did she say? He asked, uninterested. She said it's the wife's job to take care of him, but isn't taking care of your own husband part of that? I replied. If that's what my mom says, then just do it. It's not my problem. I'm tired. Just leave me alone today, he muttered, heading to his room and leaving me, as always, to take care of my father-in-law on my own. The only good thing about this house is that my father-in-law is a good man. When I take care of him, he says, I'm sorry. If I wasn't like this, I'd scold my wife and son. Thanks for everything. This is how my father-in-law shows his appreciation for me. My father-in-law is the only one who has ever thanked me. Although I am mistreated by his wife and son, my father-in-law is still kind to me. Caring for him is hard work, but talking with him is a healing time for me. How horrible of my mother-in-law and my husband to neglect my father-in-law like this. I spent my days caring for my father-in-law and doing housework with these thoughts in my mind. Then one day, I received a phone call from my father. Everly, oh my God, your mother fell down the stairs and was rushed to the hospital, he exclaimed, his voice filled with panic. I had previously warned my mother to be cautious on the stairs, especially since her legs and back had been getting weaker lately. Next week, my brother was planning to visit with his grandchildren for the first time in a long while. and it seems she was preparing for their arrival when she missed a step and fell. She apparently fell from a significant height, and the sound of the impact was loud. Although she remained conscious, she couldn't move, so an ambulance was called. The examination revealed a fractured femur. The doctor explained that it would be difficult for her to stand or walk on her own, and she would need to be hospitalized for some time. My parents' house is about an hour's drive away. Of course, I'm worried about my mother with a broken bone, but I'm also worried about my father, who has to live alone for a while. And even once she gets out of the hospital, she will need nursing care if she can walk. My parents have always been close, and my father used to help out with the housework. But I thought it would be very tough for him, who is not used to doing both nursing care and housework. I do it every day, and it is very rough on me. My brother and his family live far away, so it would be difficult for him to take care of my parents. So I am the only person who can take care of them. I talked to my mother-in-law about it. So, I began, feeling anxious. My mother has broken a bone and can't move. She won't be able to stand up even after she's discharged from the hospital. I would like to take care of my parents from now on. Could you give me a few hours a day starting tomorrow? I would appreciate it if you could take care of your husband either in the morning or in the afternoon, I asked, trying to keep my tone polite. I thought my mother-in-law would be willing to take care of him for a few hours a day. But then she said, "Why should I be the one to take care of him? Isn't that your responsibility? You should be taking good care of him. As for your mother, can't your father and brother handle that? You don't need to go there." "No, my brother lives far away," I retorted. "My father can't take care of the house and care for my mother by himself. He might be able to manage if I go and help out a little." "I don't care," she replied coldly. "You're the wife of this family, so you have to take care of this household. Your family can figure it out on their own. It doesn't have to be every day. They just need a little help. Even if it's only for 3 hours, I'd appreciate it," I pleaded. "I told you I don't care. I won't take care of my husband. You need to do that." With that, my mother-in-law left the house again. I wondered why she hated taking care of her own husband so much. My mother-in-law stubbornly refused to take care of him and pushed me to do it. I decided to talk to my husband about it. I explained to my husband, "My own mother can no longer walk. She needs help. I thought maybe—" I started to say, but he interrupted me. "I told you that there is no way I'm going to take care of my dad. How many times do I have to tell you that I'm busy and tired?" "But my parents are going through a hard time too. They could use a little help," I protested. "I don't care about your parents," Warren snapped. "You're my wife now, so act like one. Anyway, I won't help you. I won't say anything to my mom either. Don't ever bring it up again. Just shut up and mind your own business. Understand? You're the wife of the family," he concluded. Both my mother-in-law and my husband said the same thing. It's true that I'm the wife of this house, but my mother-in-law and husband have spent more time here with my father-in-law than I have. I know it's not a matter of time, but why do they hate it so much? I couldn't help but wonder, but that's not the point now. As I prepared dinner, I wondered if there was any way I could take care of my parents at home. While I was thinking about what to do, I heard a cheerful, "I'm home," from the front door. My son had come to visit. "What's wrong? You didn't tell me you were coming," I said, surprised. "I thought I would just stop by," he replied, glancing around the room. "Huh? Dad and Grandma aren't here. How's Grandpa doing? I'm gonna go talk to him." With that, my son went to see his grandfather, chatted with him briefly, and then came back into the kitchen. "What's wrong, Mom? You don't look well," he said, concerned. I hesitated before explaining. "Well, you see," I told my son what had been happening at my parents' house, and how I wanted to help them but was being blocked by my mother-in-law and husband. My son already knew how hard it was for me to take care of my father-in-law and manage the house alone. He has always taken my struggles seriously, even when his father and grandmother wouldn't lift a finger. Talking to him felt like a rare opportunity to share my feelings. "I'm sorry for complaining," I said. "Don't worry, Mom, you're doing fine," he replied with a strained smile. "Actually, I came here today to tell you something," he added. "What is it?" I asked. "I heard something from a friend who lives around here," my son began. It was the answer to something I had always wondered about. When my friend told me, I didn't think it was possible. but I did some digging. I got the results today, and I was so pissed off that I came here. My son handed me an envelope. When I opened it and saw the contents, I was stunned. This can't be true, can it? I said, struggling to believe what I was seeing. I was ready to give them a piece of my mind, he continued, but neither Dad nor Grandma were around. I'm so frustrated, but I have to head home early. Sorry, Mom. No matter what, I'm always on your side. That day, the only thing I managed to do was feed my father-in-law. I couldn't do anything else. I thought hard about what I should do from now on, and decided that divorce was my only option. I felt bad for my father-in-law, but it was the only thing that came to mind when I considered everything my mother-in-law and husband had done to me. I wanted to get divorced right away, so I looked online for divorce papers and found they were available for download. I rushed to a local library and printed them out. When I got home, I signed in the wife column, packed my belongings, and waited for my husband and mother-in-law to return. My husband came home first. Welcome home, I greeted him. I need to talk to you. I hope you're not talking about taking care of my dad again, he said dismissively. I told you not to bring it up again. You're persistent. Well, I said calmly, I'm really worried about my parents, so I'm going home. Hey, what are you thinking? He shouted. What are you going to do about this house? What are we supposed to do if the wife doesn't take care of the house? Why don't you think for yourself? You're the son of this family, right? You should help out a little, I replied. I'm tired from work. I had to work today, you know, he lied. It was obvious after seeing the evidence my son had brought me. While we were arguing, my mother-in-law came home. What's going on? It's so noisy. I can hear you all the way outside, she asked, concern evident in her voice. I need you to take care of your husband from now on. I'm worried about my parents, I concluded, turning to her. Oh, Everly, she scoffed. Are you still talking about that? You are responsible for working for this household. You should know your priorities. Yes, I replied firmly, finally resolute. That's why I've decided to move out of this house. From now on, my feelings are my priority. Saying that, I placed the divorce papers I had just signed on the table. The two of them whitened their eyes when they realized it was a divorce decree. Their faces turned red in a flash. Divorce papers? When did you get this? If you leave, who will take care of Dad? Don't you have any love for your family? My husband asked, his voice trembling with disbelief. Love? I responded sharply. How can you say such a thing to me? Do you still think that after seeing what I've seen? I slammed the envelope my son had given me on the table. With the force of the slam, out of the envelope came a picture of my husband at the scene of the affair. He was walking arm in arm with a young woman and entering her apartment. There was also a picture of my mother-in-law having dinner with a man. What? My husband exclaimed, staring at the photos in shock. I heard there's a rumor going around the neighborhood that you met with this woman again today, I continued. How can you talk about love for your family when you've been seeing other women? Everly, this is a little... What's going on? My husband stammered, looking increasingly confused. I have more proof other than pictures, I said coldly. I know your mother was also seeing someone. The friend you kept talking about was a man, wasn't it? I asked her. My mother-in-law, who had remained silent until now, hesitated before saying, That's right. It's my husband's fault for not being able to move. Then why don't you take care of him and stay with him? I shot back. I don't want to, she replied flatly. Why should I be the one to take care of him? Anyway, I said firmly, I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving, so you two have to take care of the rest. I took the photos I had thrown on the table and went to the front door with them. Before I left, I went to speak to my father-in-law. I'm sorry, I said softly. Thank you for everything. I heard everything, he replied, his voice heavy with emotion. I should be the one thanking you. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Please go and take care of your parents. I'll be okay here. He paused, then added, I guess that's not something I should say. I'm sorry. Hurry up and go. I was so sorry to my father-in-law, who sent me off with a smile, and I felt bad to leave him. I returned to my parents' house on the same day, and my father welcomed me with a smile. I'll admit I felt a little stressed shortly after I left that house. My mother-in-law, in particular, seemed overwhelmed by the constant demands of my father-in-law. She struggled to manage everything on her own and rarely had a moment to herself. "I can't even see my friend anymore," she complained over the phone one day, her voice heavy with frustration. When my husband didn't submit the divorce papers, I decided to get help from a lawyer. At the lawyer's suggestion, I sent a content-certified letter to my husband and his lover. Apparently, his lover was one of his subordinates at work. Thanks to the content-certified letter, the company found out about the affair, and my husband was transferred to a department that was notorious for its boredom. The other woman resigned because she couldn't stand the affair being discovered. My husband will now be able to participate more in his father's care. I sincerely hope that he will take care of my father-in-law with love. Meanwhile, I did everything I could for my mother, who is now in a wheelchair, until she was discharged from the hospital. I redecorated an open room into a room exclusively for my mother and prepared a nursing bed for her. We also installed a handrail in the hallway so that she could practice standing and walking as much as possible. My mother was discharged from the hospital after a few days, though she seemed uneasy about my divorce from my husband. Despite her worries, she softly said, "I'm really happy to be able to live with you again after such a long time," her face lighting up with a faint smile. At first, she had a hard time moving. I accompanied her to rehabilitation, and she seemed to be getting a little more comfortable. My father was also very supportive of my mother's care and took her for walks in her wheelchair. I realized, once again, that it was impossible to take care of my mother without the support of my family. Maybe I don't have much time left to spend with my parents. I don't like to think about it too much, but thinking about it makes me want to cherish every moment I have with my parents.